Hi, Democrats. Today is Thursday, May 6th, and it's time for the Chair's Daily Live. So, I got a lot to cover today, but I'm going to try and stay within my time. Every day when I come to talk to you, I will be talking to you about bills, elected officials, and elections. But before we talk about it, I want to kind of shout out to all the folks who are involved in the progressive ecosystem, right? It's not just our elected officials. Grateful for the elected officials, but it's more than just our elected officials. It's folks who ran who didn't make it. It's all the allied organizations, the Sierra Club, Oklahoma Progress Now, Black Lives Matter, teachers organizations, unions, all of these organizations, make up the progressive ecosystem, and we all have a role to play, and we all have a lane to be in. And I just think it's important that we take a pause and we recognize that this is a collective, that it takes all of us, and that we all come into it from for different reasons, for different things incentivize us to get involved. For me, there was a thing that got me involved, but the thing that keeps me involved, my jam is voter rights, right? Voter rights. I want everyone to have free and fair access to the ballot box, be educated when they get there, and know that their vote's going to count. You guys have heard me say that many times because that is what drives me. But it's all these other things that we also have to pay attention to. But voters' rights are my jam because they affect everything thereafter, right? If you're mad about how much tax we pay, it's because of a vote that was made. If you're mad about how the potholes aren't being fixed, that's an infrastructure issue, and that's a thing that we vote on. If you're mad because your kids and their remote learning didn't jive, or they can't keep a good internet connection, that's a thing that we vote on. And so it affects everything. And I just want everybody to recognize that when you think that politics is not your jam and you don't know enough about it and it's too messy and it's too divisive, you're letting other people make the decision about what happens in your life. So it leads me to talk about every 2 years in the state of Oklahoma, we do a voter purge. There probably is a nicer way to talk about it, but I'm just going to call it what it is. It's a voter purge. While all over the state, all over the nation, we're talking about making greater access to the ballot box, making sure that, in some states they have the drop boxes and all these rules. In Oklahoma, every 2 years, we do a voter purge. There are states that are automatically registering people to vote and automatically sending their ballots. And in our state, every year we look to erase voices off of our voter purge. The first step of that is a whisper campaign. You see it on the news if you're paying attention. If you don't blink, you see on the news where they talk about we're getting ready to start the process. But so I'm saying to you, they're getting ready to start the process. And the first steps of the is what they call address verification. So they send out letters or postcards saying, we don't know if you've been voting. We just need to verify. We're cleaning up our database. Is this your address? And it looks like a government document. It looks like it might be. But if you don't respond, you get to be moved down the track to be purged off the voter rolls. Now, it's pretty. Just return the postcard. I'm going to try not to editorialize. Just fill out the postcard. It's all about continuing to be able to vote. It's all about not having to re-register if you live in the same place. And I'm going to say that if you move, change your voter's registration. Because if you move and you're still voting at your mama's house, she's putting your mail in a pile over here, and you may go check on it on Mother's Day and Easter and Christmas, but so you may miss your window and get purged. And the other thing is that you're not voting on the things that affect your day to day. My city councilor, my representative live in proximity to me. So they're driving on the same roads. And so they know what I'm dealing with. And they're actually, when they're writing legislation, hopefully they're writing legislation that affects me, right? That it affects them, so it affects me. And so it's important that you are registered where you live and that you vote every opportunity. So on May 11th, which is next Tuesday, and then on June 8th, in a lot of communities all over the state, we'll be voting on propositions. They're not sexy, and nobody ever pays attention to them, and voter turnout for propositions is dismal. But here's the thing, the propositions are what determine what your tax rate is. Propositions are what determine how much money goes into like the building fund at the schools. Propositions affect you almost more than who represents you on Lincoln. So go out to the Oklahoma State Election Board, put in your name, birthday, see if you have a vote coming up for propositions, print it out, do your research. I know that was a long way of going around it, but I needed to reemphasize it is important. Propositions are, there's nobody knocking on your door about the propositions, right? Nobody's buying billboards, and they barely talk about it on the news because they can't interview someone. The challenge is that propositions absolutely affect you. How much tax did you pay on gas? That's a proposition. So you need to do your research, know how you feel about the proposition that's happening in your community, and cast your vote in an educated manner. Okay, so I'm now stepping off my soapbox and getting back to why I come here every day. So bills, electeds, and elections. So first, I want to tell you that I spoke with Joshua Harris-Till, who is leading the effort on veto for State Question 816, which is vetoing HB 1674, which is the bill that says it's okay to run over protesters. And if something happens during your protest that the officials don't like, you can be charged with organized crime. We talk about the running over protesters because that's a big deal. Life is important. But don't forget about the organized crime. Organized crime is a felony. And guess what? You can't vote. All of this kind of stuff. It's just another form of voter suppression and murder. Another form of voter suppression and murder. So State Question 816, they got the approval from the Secretary of State. They're doing all the legwork now. Please keep your ear to the ground. They're going to be having petitions out pretty quickly here. And if you want to sign up to help get petitions signed, get the training, they're starting training this weekend. Go out to their Facebook page, which is Vote No State Question 816. Go out to that webpage, sign up, get involved. We need 60,000 signatures, which translates to something like 100,000 signatures because they'll be crossing them off. We need as many signatures as we can get. Now, active bill. I know you guys you know what bill I'm going to talk about because it hasn't been signed as far as I know, and it's HB 1775. It's a dangerous bill. It will absolutely rewrite history. And if we don't know our history, I'm not even going to go with the adage. If we don't know our history, truthfully, how we deal with one another goes backwards. How we move forward is made even more difficult because we don't know how we got here. And it's just silly. And it's erasing just kind of mere existence, right? I mean, the history that got me here is not covered in the history books now. It needs to be expanded. And there are a bunch of folks, women, we weren't just kind of hanging out in the background, and then we got suffrage, and then we had the ERA, and then we're here. But that's how we were covered in the history books. It needs to be expanded. It needs to include all of us. We all need our stories told. So call the governor if you haven't already. Don't make a nuisance of yourself. If you've already called, you've already called. But if you haven't already, please call the governor, 405-521-2342. Be polite. Let them know that you would like for the governor to veto this bill. In other words, do not sign this bill, and make sure that you leave your name. I just want them to have a good record of who's calling. Today is it's Thursday, the fourth day in Teacher Appreciation Week. And so I want to shout out Representative Waldron from Tulsa, Representative Ransom from Stillwater, Representative Rosecrans from Norman, Representative Provenzano from Tulsa, Representative Fugate from Dale City, and then Senator Joanna Dossett, Senator J.J. Dossett, Senator Carrie Hicks, and Senator Mary Boren. They are all teachers who are no longer in the classroom. So I want to give a shout out that they went from one noble calling to another noble calling. Neither one of them that pay very well. So you have to know that they care about Oklahoma people. I just want to shout out to them and say that we appreciate you in this Teacher Appreciation Week. We appreciate you always, but we appreciate you during Teacher Appreciation Week. I think that's all I want to talk about today. I've talked very long. Elections, I already told you, 5/11, 6/8. This weekend, no, on the 22nd is the Disability Federation and the Stonewall Federation conventions. And state convention is June 12th. And our keynote speaker is Congressional Delegate Stacey Plaskett from the Virgin Islands, one of the impeachment managers. Cannot wait to hear what she has to tell us. You guys have a great day. I will be back tomorrow at 4:15.